Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of RobSportsCenter. And if you are an old school basketball fan, if you are a Magic Johnson fan, or if you're a Larry Bird fan, then you are at the right channel. As you can see by the title, man. Yes, coming at you guys with another Larry Bird and Magic Johnson interview. I've been enjoying these interviews. You guys have been enjoying these interviews. So I was like, let me keep coming with these interviews. But you know how we do over here. I ain't gonna talk y'all to death. We're gonna get straight into this video. But before we get into the video, man, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure the post notification bell is on and my notifications are all the way on. That way you'll be notified every time I post. Let's get into that action, boss.
Years ago. And now we played in front of probably 15, 16,000. Now on the Final Four, 72,000 people saw the game.
But look, I feel like a part of the elevation obviously come from these two. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to give credit where credit's due. A part of what, you know, the success of basketball as a whole stems back down to these two revitalizing basketball and putting it in more of a global spotlight than just, you know, kind of just a mediocre thing.
Really incredible.
Well, I don't know if 70-some thousand can see it, but they're here. Probably watching on Jumbotron, but you know, it's amazing how the game has come so far and all the time they put into it to make it better. So the NCAA has done a great job, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. When we first came in, there's 32 teams. Now there's 64, and a lot of quality teams out there.
Yes, and I said that we put the madness in March. You know, with that game that we had, still the highest rated final in NCAA history. What did you think happened? Why did we?
So that's still to this day the highest rated game in final history. Let's clap it up for that, man. Go, I need to see these in the comment section, man. If you a Bird and Magic fan, I need to see these in the comment section. If you just a Bird fan, I need to see these in the comment section. Or if you're just a Magic fan, I need to see these in the comment section. But that's dope, though, man. I did not know that.
Were able to capture the imagination of everybody around the country.
You know, I'm still amazed by that, but you know, the TV ratings back then, people just had 4 or 5 channels to pick from. Now they got 400, but I think it's just. In my case, people really didn't see me play on national TV. I was from a mid-major school. And then you come in and with all the hype and the play that you did and the struggles you had earlier in your season, and we were undefeated and we're playing against a Big Ten champion, and I think it just caught everybody's attention. And here it is 30 years later, and they still ask a lot of questions about it.
Still today. Then we both go on. You go to the Boston Celtics, which I don't know who did this. The basketball gods shine down on us. You end up with Boston. I end up in LA. We went on to win many championships. Tell me your experience in Boston. How was that experience?
Well, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I grew up in Boston. I was very fortunate to go to a small school where I felt comfortable. I love the city of Terre Haute, but once I left, I was nervous about getting out there, getting settled. But once I got settled in, and got to know my way around a little bit in Boston, I knew it was a perfect fit for me. And knowing you was on the West Coast, I was on the East Coast, I was just dreaming about another chance maybe I'd get to play against you.
Yeah, well, you know what? The NCAA finals created this rivalry that now fans could carry over to the NBA. And then we were able to meet a couple times in the final. Tell me how your Celtic team would match up against the champions this season championship Boston team.
Well, it's really hard to tell because I never really played against them guys. I never played against any of them, but I know their defense was excellent. I think they won the championship because of their defense. I know Paul Pierce is a very, very good player, and Ray Allen's always been one of my favorites because he shoots the ball extremely well and he knows how to play. Then they got Kevin Garnett, and then they got a lot of role players that filled their role. I don't know how we would have competed against them, but obviously with the teams that we had '84 and '86. I thought in '84 we got lucky and came back and beat you guys, but in '86 was a team that I thought was our best team in Boston, and I would take that team and challenge anyone.
Why is it that the Celtic players make great presidents and GM? Kevin McHale, Minnesota, Danny Ainge with Boston, and you with the Pacers. What is it about you, Celtic?
Well, I don't know if we're great, but we've had some success, and I think when it's all said and done, you'll see that our body of work.
I think it comes back to like the culture, like I always say, it's like the culture of what the Celtics were in a sense. You know what I mean? All those guys come up through that culture. All those guys, you know, they grinded out together, they made goals together, and they accomplished goals together. So it's like once you leave from that culture, that mindset doesn't stop. You know what I mean? That mindset only amplifies because you say, okay, now I want success outside of what we had. That way I can believe that, you know, I'm capable of doing it without, you know, such and such and such and such. So, you know, I like to say it always goes back to that constitution of who you are.
Sure. But we still have a long ways to go. I think it's just because of Red Auerbach. I mean, if you look around the players that he coached, the guys that went on coaching and GMs, and there's a large amount of guys that's been successful when the playing days are over.
Tell me about your Pacers now. You rebuilding, and you got some great young talent. So tell us about your Pacers.
Yeah, you know, we had a situation there for 2 or 3 years where our players really embarrassed the city and our franchise and really hurt us. And I decided to go in a different direction. And when you do that, Irving, you take away a lot of your talent. So really, you're in a rebuilding mode. And last year, we was fortunate to be able to get 2 young players. I think it's going to help us in the long run. But it's a rebuilding situation. But hopefully, we can get there sooner than later. It's going to take some time.
Well, I talked to you, and you really took some of those incidents personally, and it really hurt you because you want everything to go well. You played the game the right way. You love the state of Indiana. So tell me how you feel about this team now. You're feeling good about it representing not only yourself, but the city of Indianapolis.
Oh, no question about it. The players we have there are quality players, great individuals. I take any of them home with me. They're sweethearts, but we just got to get better. Obviously, we got some holes to fill, and in the near future, I hope we can plug them holes and start winning a lot of games.
Keita Granger, outstanding small forward, can shoot the lights out, score from anywhere on the court. What makes him a great player?
His heart. I mean, he came in and wanted to be a great player. He does all his extra work. He's made great strides in the last 4 years. He wants to be the #1 guy, and he's going to do whatever he can to be that guy. And you know, through your career, if you want to be somebody, it takes a lot of work. You got to put a lot of pressure on your shoulders, and you got to carry guys along. You got to make the guys around you better. That's one thing Danny's got to work on. He's a very good basketball player, but once he starts figuring out the guys that are with him, if he can make them better, it's going to be a lot easier on himself.
And that, like I said, and that's kind of what breeds champions. And I feel like that's what today lacks in terms of like the superstars of today's age. They don't have that factor of what Larry Bird just said. Let me rewind.
You know, through your career, if you want to be somebody, it takes a lot of work. You got to put a lot of pressure on your shoulders, and you got to carry guys along. You got to make the guys around you better. That's one thing Danny's got to work on. He's a very good basketball player, but once he starts figuring out the guys that are with him, if he can make them better, it's going to be a lot easier on himself.
And see, that's what today's players lack. When you look at a lot of players that come out here, they score 40 points, they score 50 points. They're setting records in terms of getting, you know, these individual accolades. But when you look at the overall success of the team, it doesn't correlate. Prime example, right? If you take a player with that type of mentality today, Jimmy Butler, right? And you look at what Jimmy Butler does with the Miami Heat. Look at this past season, right? If you're going based off of paper, Miami was not supposed to be where they're at, but it goes down to just more than paper with the heart and determination and the building up of your players. You can maximize on the capabilities of not just yourself, but everybody around, and you make them better. In turn, it makes the team better, and that's what the superstars of today's age lack.
Smartest player you ever played with? With
Dennis Johnson.
Best player you ever played with?
Probably Dennis Johnson. It's close between Kevin and Dennis. They're 2 different type of players, but I always thought if we really needed something, and Dennis always said I'm a 44% shooter during the regular season and 60 in the playoffs.
That's
but
right.
Kevin was incredible. You played against him. But DJ, I thought, was our guy I loved to play with. He thought the same way I did, and he's pretty good.
I want to take fans back to your retirement day. And I was in the locker room, and a lot of fans don't know this, but I had my Laker warm-up on, but I didn't bring a shirt. So when I asked the trainer for a T-shirt and to put on up under my Laker warm-up, so won't you take it from there and tell the people what happened?
Well, I seen it. I seen you ask for a T-shirt, and I seen what they gave you. And once we got out there on the stage, you were walking around. I could see the Boston Celtic T-shirt underneath, so I couldn't let it go. I just had to rip that thing open and let all the Celtic fans see that you really wanted to be a Celtic. It might be your last time to be but it was a pretty good moment. I still sign all them pictures.
And that was a great moment for me as well. Larry, I don't know if there ever will be a rivalry quite like yours and mine.
No.
And it's amazing, two Midwest boys, relatively large families, mama's boys. What made it special was we couldn't run fast, we couldn't jump high, but we loved to compete. What will it take now for the NBA to come back? Because I keep telling people it takes rivalries like the ones we had, the Celtics versus the Lakers, for it to really be strong again. What do you think?
Well, let me chime on that before Larry gets talking. I don't want to interrupt him. If you ask me, before I listen to Larry's explanation, I think that it comes down back to the players' mentalities. Like I say, the guys back then, they were just different breeds. Like they wanted to win by any means necessary. They was willing to play hurt. They was willing to take pay cuts. Like it's a lot that goes back into that old school grinded out mentality. And it's like, okay, I want to be friends, but when we step on this court, regardless if we want to look at it like that, we are enemies. You're here to beat me. I'm here to beat you. At the end of the day, it's nothing personal outside of this, but when we're here, it's personal. I want to be the best. And it's like I say, the players of today's age, like Magic say, they got the speed, they got the athleticism, they can jump out the gym, but they just don't have the heart. Just like what Bird was saying with Danny Granger, what made him so great was heart. A lot of players don't have the heart. They ball up when they fold in crunch time situations. They can't get out of themselves, out of their own heads, out of their own egos to try to make their team better. It's all about individual accolades. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily about the team. And that's what it takes. It takes more players with the Jimmy Butler's mentality to get back to where the league was at. The rivalry is true enough, but even when you look at the Celtics and not the Celtics, but the Warriors and the Cavs, there was a rivalry. But at the same time, look, that was almost like an all-star team versus a semi-all-star team. You get what I'm, like the Cavaliers wasn't necessarily an all-star team, but the Warriors were. You know what I mean? But I think that's what it comes down to, just, the different mentality, man. Going back into that dog, I want this better. I want this more than anybody else in the league want this. I'm willing to play hurt. I'm willing to, die of exhaustion. I'm willing to do all those things necessary to get to that point. And I think that's kind of what it comes down to.
In the 80s, early 80s, we came to the league and we were new and we were trying to throw our way around, and we was fortunate enough to win a championship here and there. But really, when it got to 84 on through,
one more thing, guys.
Charles.
One more thing. And also too, even like when you look at early in the interview with Bird, was like that when he was coming from Indiana State or being in Indiana State, he was like a lot of his games wasn't really televised, so a lot of people didn't really see as much of him as they did with Magic. Let's go to the players in today's age. A lot of these guys, they got cameras, they got everything in their face as kids, high schoolers, and they haven't even played a game in the NBA, but they're getting talked about, they're getting revved about as if they are NBA players. So it's like, you've already accomplished so much at such a young, I ain't gonna say accomplished, you're in a certain spotlight at such a young age that it's almost like, okay, I feel I'm an NBA player now. You're going out, you got millions of followers on Instagram, you're going out, everybody want to take pictures, everybody want autographs. It's almost like you don't have to, you become complacent, and it takes away from the hustle, the hunger, the determination. All these things that a lot of these kids got now are things you're supposed to get once you get to the league, but not only get to the league, but dominate the league. You know, like how Bird was, how Magic was, and how Mike was. That's what it has to go through. That's how it should be, in a sense. You know what I mean? Not saying that you should downplay the youngsters, but at the end of the day, they get so much credit without doing nothing that it just takes away from the drive, the mentality.
In the league, Michael came in the league, Patrick, John Stockton, Karl Malone. You can just keep naming David Robinson later on, but there's more and more great players coming in our league, guys that would do anything to win. Right. It was very competitive. We have a lot of great players in our league now. We just don't have as many. We don't have the rivalries that we used to have. I love to play against, obviously you throughout. I love to compete against Michael and Charles and them guys. Now it's a little different, but I think once these younger guys come on, a lot of them came out score early, but once they get older and they feel that they got an opportunity to win a championship, I think there'll be more competitiveness and a lot better players.
And then back to the Boston, Philly rivalries, back to the Detroit, Chicago, Michael versus Isaiah and his Pistons. That's what we need more of. And then tell me this, 3 of our friends went into the Hall of Fame this year. So if I said Michael Jordan, what would you say?
I think unbelievable. I mean, I can tell you some things that happened in the games against us. One time I turned, I jumped, and he still went. His knees almost hit me in the chin. And that's when I realized that this guy's pretty special for his jumping ability, but cat quick. He closed down a pass lane as fast as anybody ever seen, and just a phenomenal player.
John Stockton.
One of the smartest players I ever played against. So very crafty, very crafty with the ball. Would always watch the defense, what they were going to do. If they made a mistake, the ball was delivered right on the money.
And then finally, David Robinson.
David Robinson was big and strong and very agile for a big man. Could score points in bunches and covered up a lot of space. Great up and down the court. Reminded me of Robert Parrish when Robert was young. So a very skilled player.
Give me your take on 3 today guys right quick. LeBron James.
He could be one of the best small forwards ever play the game. And I think he's closing in on it now. All he's got to do is win some championships.
Kobe Bryant.
He's my favorite. I think he's the best I've seen in a long time.
I'm so glad I watched this interview. I'm so glad. This is coming from Larry the Legend. Who did he say? What did? We're going to rewind. That's all we want to do.
And I think he's closing in on it now. All he's got to do is win some championships.
Kobe Bryant.
He's my favorite. I think he's the best I've seen in a long time. I would never compare him to Michael, but if anyone's close to him, it would be him.
Yeah. Chris Paul.
Chris Paul is crafty. I mean,
But look, I hope you guys do know what that means, though. Kobe reaction's coming soon.
Chris, in practice in college, I never dreamed that he would be this good this early. I knew he had a lot of talent, but very crafty player. Reminds me a lot of John Stockton.
And finally, Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade is incredible. He takes a lot of beating out there, and he continues to come through. Last year, he had a down year, and I watched him play a lot this year. He's just an incredible basketball player.
Thanks for watching ESPN.
So look, that's coming from one of my favorite all-time players now because of you guys, Larry Bird. And look at 2 of my favorite players, how highly he spoke of them. One Mike, one Kobe. But for sure Kobe, because I said that Kobe had that. But see, Kobe comes from the later 90s, early 2000s. So you can't classify him with the era of, with like a lot of, how do I want to put it? The LeBron. Kobe comes with the era of the Vince Carters, the Paul Pierces, like the Ray Allens, the Kevin. He comes from that era. The late 90s, early 2000s era. But that wasn't too far removed from the 90s, well, the early 90s, late 80s. You know what I mean? And some of these guys, like I know Kobe had a chance to play in the 90s and compete against Mike, compete against a lot of these other guys that we hold so in such high regards. But even look at from Bird and look how he speaks about 2 of the guys. Well, I would say Kobe from a little bit after his time. That just speaks volumes to who Kobe is, who Kobe was. As a player. But as you guys can see, man, that is it for this video. If you did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. When you subscribe, make sure you got my notification bell on. That way you notify every time I post, because just like the GOAT Drizzy Drake say, man, I got these videos coming back to back, man. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.